Good evening. My name is Jessica Lavallee, and I am the parent of a child with fear with harm. I want to walk you through what has become the norm in my house each morning. Every day at 6:15 a.m., I wake up to AC/DC. Mind you, this is not my alarm. It is my 14-year-old son's. By the time I'm fully awake, my son has already gotten up, brushed his teeth, made his bed, taken his medicine, gone downstairs to eat something for breakfast, brought me my morning coffee, and walked out the door to wait for the bus to take him to school. You may ask why I bring this up and why I'm starting with this. For those of you who live with someone with this disorder, you know that even the simple act of getting out of bed can be so paralyzing, it feels like you have to move mountains to get them up in the morning. For the first 14 years of my son's life, this was the case. From the moment I brought him home from the hospital, sleep has been an impossible endeavor. The fact that he's not only falling asleep at a reasonable time, but staying asleep and getting up on his own is quite frankly astonishing. There are so many reasons why sleep has always been an issue for him. I can't tell you how many times he would say he couldn't get up in the morning because it was too cold, or how many times he said he couldn't go to sleep because he had so much energy and was so overheated that even attempting to lay in bed all tucked into his covers seemed impossible, and would undoubtedly make things worse so that no one in our house got sleep. I know that everyone knows how important sleep is for children, but when you live with a child with fear of harm, there's so much more to this than simply difficulty sleeping. It is so hard to understand the fears that they have and the way that they're played out in their dreams at night and how this re-traumatizes them each and every night. All of the things that our son has told us over the years about the dreams or night terrors she's had are so horrific. So horrific, in fact, that we never figured out how to respond. The hardest part was that to him, this was real. In his mind, he was convinced that he lived through these horrific and violent experiences. His perception of things was never really reality for over 14 years, and it stemmed a lot from his issues surrounding sleep. What do you say to a child that at age 5 says they just want to die because they don't want to go to sleep? Our son started suicidal ideation at around age 4, and this uncertainty surrounding his life and all or nothing thinking continued up until this year. I can't remember when the last time was that he wasn't able to wake up because he said he was too cold. Sleep inertia is something that is really difficult to manage and help children work through. But I can tell you, after a very long road and the proper treatment, we have worked through it. A routine and regular temperature regulation were key to our success. My son now leaves in the morning and comes home in the afternoon with positive energy and a smile on his face after a day of school. Now, mind you, this is during a pandemic, a time when everyone has much more anxiety to work through than under any normal circumstances. It is actually really ironic that things pulled together for us and for him during the pandemic. There are so many things about 2020 that I would like to never ever live through again. But it also gave my family an opportunity to try something we'd been on the fence about: ketamine treatment. Also, simply by being together all the time enabled us to try ketamine treatment in a way that eased everyone in my family's anxiety, including my son's. Looking back, I realized that this was a really long road. And I know that my son is very lucky that he has me as his biggest supporter and advocate. After years of school refusal, behavior issues, and accusations from school personnel and students that were simply inaccurate, my son is thriving at school. There were times when I had so many aspirations for him, and there were other times when all I wanted to do was figure out a way to get him through the day or the next hour. You don't go into being a parent thinking that every day you will have to convince your child that his life is worth living. One of my friends, who is also a social worker in our school district, said to me one day, "Why are we talking about college? Why are we talking about graduation? Why are we even talking about the next step right now? We need to be in the moment and figure out how to get him through the present." At that time, high school seemed so unreachable for him. As a teacher and a mother, seeing my son struggle academically and socially every day for 14 years was so hard. His first day of high school, I sat in the parking lot and waited for him to come to the car. To my surprise, he came with 2 other boys, one that I had met previously and another that I had not. They both had missed the bus because they were getting their computers, and my son had kindly offered to give them a ride home. Now, for most children, this would not be a big deal, and for most parents, it wouldn't be a big deal. But for us, it was a huge step forward. I was cheering inside. It was possibly one of the greatest moments I've ever had as a parent. He did it. He made a friend, and he connected with someone who he had not connected with in a while, and he was able to think through a situation and help someone else. Each night at some point in the evening, I can hear the sound of laughter and chit-chat. Poking my head into his bedroom, I can see that he's on a FaceTime call with a group of kids. They could possibly be from his new school or from his ski team. Listening to this each night warms my heart. As an educator and a parent, I know how hard it is to understand this disorder. I have experienced firsthand how many people have misconceptions, and I understand where those misconceptions may stem from. We need to be able to educate people about fear of harm. There is hope in these children. They deserve a fighting chance. They deserve to enjoy the simple rites of passage of childhood. I do not want any other child to suffer for 14 years before they are able to wake up and look forward to going to school. The saying "it takes a village to raise a child" is so true in so many ways. But as a mother of a child with fear of harm, you always think to yourself and wonder, where is that village? This disorder isolates both the children who have it and their families. It took a long time for me to be able to say this with conviction, but now I do have a village. I have support from people I have never met from all across the country, and I've gained support from others by educating them on fear of harm. As part of the JBRF Parent Support Group, I now do not feel alone in this struggle. The organization's support, along with a comprehensive treatment plan from Dr. Dimitri Papoulis, has done so much for my family. Life can be easier. The simple rites of passage as a child can be a positive experience for a child with fear of harm. For the first time in his life, my son actually looks forward to going to therapy. And surprisingly, he reminds me that he has his therapy group. These are the things that all children and families should have access to. Together, I know we can change people's misconceptions and give families and children the education, treatment, and support that they deserve. I know he will always have to look at life through a different lens. His struggles are far from over, but we have started down the road to both happiness and stability.